Have you ever wondered what it really takes to get to Miss America? Have you been stuck at a first, second, third, or fourth runner-up placement forever and have no idea how to get to the top winning spot? Do you feel stuck in a cycle of the same kind of placement over and over and have been desperately wondering what it takes to break the cycle and win the crown? In this episode, Raechel Warren, the current Miss Nebraska, unveils exactly what she did to go from a 5-time runner-up to ultimately winning her dream job and dream title of Miss Nebraska, now heading to Miss America in just a few days. If you are feeling stuck, discouraged, or don't know what to do next and have been feeling like you are going around in circles and circles and circles chasing your own tail, this is the episode for you. You do not want to miss out on hearing from one of the most near and dear people to my heart, Raechel Warren. So let's dive into the episode. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast. As always, I'm Coach Megan, and I have a very special guest with me here today, Raechel Warren, the current Miss Nebraska, and we're going to get into her story right before she competes at Miss America. So thanks so much for being here, Raechel.
Thanks for having me, Megan. This is so exciting.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. We love to start the show with telling us a little bit about your background. Now, obviously, we could be here all day. You have a ton of life experience, but specifically to the lens of pageantry and then also just becoming the woman that you are today, professionally, spiritually, all the things. Why don't you give us some background of just what has gotten you to this place of becoming Miss Nebraska?
Yeah, we really could be here all day, especially with our relationship, and you've really seen it all. But I mean, I never thought that I would compete in the Miss America program. I'll start there. I watched it for years casually with my family. I thought, oh, that looks amazing. I knew a couple Miss State title holders that went on, met them when I was little, thought they were the coolest thing. But it wasn't until after a collegiate soccer injury in college that I thought that I had this opportunity. And that's also where my platform really stemmed from, passion to purpose. I had this severe injury where I really didn't know what life was going to look like. I played soccer my whole life. I roller skated as well. I was an athlete, and that's all I knew. And after this injury, it was really, okay, what comes next? And it was because of really great mentorship that I believe I'm here today. And that's another part we can dive into as well. But as far as pageantry goes, I had a friend go, hey, you're still able to skate, thank goodness. And she goes, you should compete, like great opportunity for scholarships. And I thought, okay, like why not? And I knew what my talent would be. I knew I wanted to roller skate. That's my pride and joy. It's my passion. And so I decided to compete. And I remember it was during swimsuit, and I have this photo of me like standing up on the stage like this. I kind of looked like a bodybuilder. Like I didn't know what I was doing, but I had these great, great local directors that were the epitome of what I believe the Miss America organization is all about when it comes to mentorship. And they were like, this is how you walk. This is how you can speak. Like, this is what undergarments you should wear. Like all the important things that you don't know that you don't know. And so I competed. I did really well at state, and I thought that was cool. And then I kept doing it. And each year found myself loving it more and more because I'm a goal setter. I'm an Enneagram 3. So I loved everything that Miss America offered. And then you came into my life in about 2016, which is crazy to say. And that was my third-ish year of competing. And I don't even remember honestly how I saw like Powerhouse's advertisement, but I decided to connect with you. I was very skeptical of having a pageant coach. And then we connected, and it was, just game over from there in terms of up, up, up and away. And I feel like connecting with someone, again, who's on the same level, like spiritually, but who's can mentor you and guide you and has been where you want to go. That's what you need in a mentor and a coach. And so from there, I think just learning who I am as Raechel, how to do things 110% the way Raechel wants to do them, being confident in all I have to offer, and like learning how to tell that story. And I think the biggest thing that made that difference so that I could jump from where I was to runner up to Miss Nebraska was being able to tell my story and being vulnerable. And that's something I really, really learned from you and all just the coaching and the way that Powerhouse is structured in particular of my story matters. And now I get to tell that to kids as part of my personal platform as well, that I thought my soccer injury was kind of whatever, right? Lots of people have collegiate sports injuries, but I learned that like that story really mattered and that could touch someone's life. And I can connect with people, with the judges by telling that story because it does matter. And that to me was the game changer there, like learning that we all have a testimony to share. And that I just feel like has been this constant in my life in terms of personally and professionally and as Miss Nebraska of just being able to connect with people on those things that make us all human and make us, that we all can share in.
Amen. Beautifully said. Okay, one thing I really want our listeners to hear this episode is, which by the way, 2016 was literally when I started the
Yeah.
company. I can't believe it was that early. I thought it was like 2018, so here we are almost 10
Yeah, maybe like
years.
27. It was right around the first iteration, right after you kind of started. I remember that. Mhm.
Yeah, I probably like didn't have a website or anything. We're probably just slinging in the
Listen, I
DMs
did
trying
all
to,
the changes about like we're using Voxer, we're doing this. I tell Kendra that all the time. It's
oh
been
my
so fun to
gosh.
see where it started to where it is now.
Yeah, oh my gosh. It's so fun now because I feel like we can reach more
Mhm.
people even better, and we're also not killing ourselves in terms of like working 80 hours a week and these different things. You learn progressively. So speaking of that, you've gone through so many iterations of identity, and I really want the audience to hear about this because to even have the courage and the chutzpah to continue to compete after hearing your name first runner up, second runner up, first runner up, first runner up, first runner up, even doing volunteer, first runner up, right? Like over and over and over, like that takes some you know
Yeah.
what. Like to be able to stand up there and put yourself out there, like talk about vulnerability. I mean, a lot of people don't have the courage to do that. They're just like, sayonara, let's move on with my life. Let's, do whatever. You also moved to several different states during that time. So, what do you think gave you the courage to keep going? Why was this dream important enough? And then maybe the second half, we can talk about like different versions of you were always the same Raechel, but it was like an awareness of different layers coming off, different layers coming on, of that identity portion that a lot of people just never think about. And they just kind of keep hammering, well, I'll just practice my walk some
Mhm.
more, right? And then they never end up winning. So let's talk about those two things.
So many different ways to talk about this. So the runner up piece of it. I mean, I have competed in a way my whole life. So I was a competitive roller skater growing up. I started skating when I was 3 when I could walk. But I started competing at about the age 5 or 6. And so I had a very early sense of awareness when it came to first, second, third place. Okay, you didn't make the podium. You fourth place doesn't get a medal, fifth place doesn't get a medal. Okay, I wanted the medal. Like, and that's kind of how it started out. And my mom was a really good roller skater as well. And I had a lot of mentors in that arena to look up to. And I had a very competitive group of young ladies I was competing with in that region at the time. So I will say that like that spirit and being willing to, okay, what do I need to do to better myself? Like, how can I get better? How can I make the podium next time? I think that was kind of innately in me. I'm very competitive by nature. But as I got older, like, why am I doing this? Well, I'm in skating, right? Like, I loved it.
Mm,
I wanted to win, whatever, right? And figured that out. But when it came to pageantry, it became much more of why do I keep doing this? And then each year I had to figure that out, right? Like after I was first runner up that year, it was, well, why do I want this so bad? Okay, well, I want to give back. I love being a title holder. I want to skate at the national level. Like that became a huge motivator. I wanted to showcase my sport. I wanted to showcase something that most people don't know how to do, but also love in a way. And it connects so many different people. And then, I became one of the older competitors. I've aged out 3 times of the Miss America program. And when I moved to Nebraska for work, a place that has always been a second home to me because of roller skating, and they raised the age, I thought, why not? Like, let's do this again. Maybe there's a reason. I mean, I believe, the Lord has a plan for all of us so innately that I can look back now and totally see why certain things didn't work out. But hindsight's 2020, right? And so I thought, okay, maybe there's a reason that I didn't win Miss Washington when I was going to school there, or maybe there's a reason that I'm in Nebraska for this, right? So I thought, okay, I want to show roller skating. I've learned all these ways that this is how to do this. I've, unlayered things, as you said, peeled off different layers, took things, let go of things. And we kind of talked about it too. Like, if I'm going to do this one more time, we're not going to do it any other way but like Raechel's way entirely. And I was just talking to my mom actually about how I don't feel like there's ever been a time where I've not done it my way, but I've been less certain about doing it my way. Like, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. Is that how I should be doing it? Like, what's the right way? And then figured out how I fit into that. But this year it was like, no, like I am equipped. I know what I'm doing. I've had the training. I have the right people in my corner. Like, let's do it Raechel's way. And I'm really proud of that. But that took a lot of confidence, right? And now I'm 28. And so I feel like that life experience has really helped with that. But I think
mhm.
you have to know your why, and you have to love what you do. And that has been my message to even a few girls in Nebraska who have ran for a few years. Is my message to them is, why are you doing this? I know that you love it, but you have to know that deep down, and you have to be able to share that, and you have to do it your way. And I can say that from such a deep place of conviction now because I've took the, bad advice, took the good advice. Like I feel like I've kind of been through the ringer in that way, but in like a positive way. And now I can share that with them. And I so
Yeah.
want to share that with them because you shouldn't, like, don't do it if you don't love it. And yeah, it's hard to get back up when you fall down or like when your name's not called. But I also was like, okay, cool. I knew even when I got first runner up, like I was proud of what I put on the table that year. And I could have been a great title holder then, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud to know that like I didn't win then. And I look back and I'm even better now because of that. But you just have to know your why and you have to love it. And at the end of the day, if you don't love it, it's okay if that's not what's meant to be for you, because what's meant for you won't pass you by. And you can always take the
Mm-hmm.
training and the experience that you had during your years of pageantry and turn it to something else because those skills are 110% transferable.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I think is really interesting that you talked about is as we were even coaching you throughout the years, right? I think it's like every year you get to a place, you're standing on the stage, you're like, I think I'm ready, right? Because if you don't think that you're ready,
Why are
like,
you doing
why are you doing it,
it?
right? To a certain extent. But then every year following, you're like, oh, thank
Yeah.
God. Like, I learned so much in this next year. Like, it wasn't the time. So, what is your encouragement to people who might be somewhere on that timeline, somewhere along the lines of that journey? And they're starting to question themselves. They're starting to question, well, is there just something inherently wrong with
Yeah.
me, that will never get picked? And then what are some of the, like, so go over like the psychological things that they can work through. And then also talk about like, what were the practical things of how you found that new gear? Because there were certain things where you will never outperform your identity, right? And so I know that you've talked about in this last year of a lot of the identity work that you've been doing, like your mom, myself, Allie, everybody, we saw that new fire in you where we were like, she's finally ready. And
Yep.
I could just cry thinking about it. So what are like the practical things, the skillful things, and then what are like more of the psychological identity things that people are going to have to do
Yeah.
to continue to really say this is mine? Because there is a skillfulness to winning.
Mhm.
Even if you think you're already at the top of your potential, there's always
Yeah,
another gear.
for
Does that make
sure.
sense?
Again, we could be here so long talking about this because it has been so many years and so many different like life things and different things that have happened. Mindset, that has been huge. So I'll start there, especially working with Coach Allison. That was kind of a game changer. That was honestly a pride thing for me at first. Pride comes before the fall. I've never had counseling. I've never been to a therapist. I was nervous to work with someone in that realm because I was like, do I really need to do that? Like, I guess my hang up this last year or the last couple of years, honestly, was my talent. Like, my talent was great, but I hadn't won a prelim talent award in like 5 or 6 years and I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, my talent's unique. Everyone loves it.
Mm,
Like, I've made tweaks. I've done, taken this advice, pushed, pulled, whatever. But Coach Allison I had to unpack or unlayer the onion, if you will, of like, why do I want to win the talent awards so bad? Or like, why do I want to skate so bad? Why does it mean so much? And it all came down to because I love to skate. And it made me cry. Like we were at Mastermind, you remember, and she layered it down. Okay, well, and it was like, well, what does little Raechel love about skating? And I had to go all the way back to I talked about 5-year-old Raechel in my Who Let the Dogs Out Dalmatian show costume outfit, who like got to skate really fast and like do a shoot the duck in front of the audience. And like that's the memory that came to my mind. And like after I was able to channel that and went, oh my gosh, I love to freaking roller skate. Watch me. Then I got out of my head
mm,
and I stopped falling every time on my sit spin when I would perform for my talent warm up. And I stopped. And eventually I was like, I'm taking the sit spin out of my program. Like I don't care. And that didn't bother me anymore. So that whole shift was truly like, again, your why. I want to roller skate and no one's going to tell me I'm not going to do it. Watch me go.
come on.
And like I won the talent award at Miss Nebraska this year. Wasn't expecting it. I wanted it, but I was like kind of used to it not happening. And then I did, and I saw my mom in the foyer and I bawled and I said, we did it. Like we did it. And so just to like full circle that with the mindset, you have to want it, but you have to learn like why you want it. And that vulnerability work is hard. Like I said,
Mm,
I had to like let go of that pride thing of like, I don't need help with this and realize, oh, it's not that I needed help. I just needed to be able to let that vulnerability out again. And I also think you have to know who's in your corner. Again, my whole platform, my CSI is all about mentorship because I know how much that changed my life. But you have to really take note of like who's in your corner. Like who are the people helping you in each phase? Who's helping you with your talent? Who's helping you with your mental health? Do you have someone that's like able to call you up and call you out? Do you have someone that is your like constant encourager? Like you have to make sure that you have a team around you that's filling in all those gaps like you can't do on your own. And if there's someone that's like not filling that role correctly, you have to be able to say no thank you in like a respectful way and be okay with that. And like I really have this wonderful village of people around me that I wouldn't be here without them. But I've had to also learn how to like
Mm.
respectfully listen to people that I may not ever keep in my village, but be able to filter it out. And the best piece of advice I've ever been given, I tell every girl, is be a filter, not a sponge. You're going to get a ton of advice, but as you
Mm.
become to know yourself better and as you really know why you want it and what you're doing it for, you become really good at filtering and going, nope, that's not a piece of advice. That doesn't serve me. The other day in a mock interview, I got told, you're using your hands too much. No one has told me that in 6 years. One person made that comment.
Come on.
And I thought, thank you so much. No, thank you. Because I know that I don't use my hands too much. And if one person out of 35 people, let's say, that have seen me interview in these last 5 months have said that, then I know it's not really something to worry about. And if it was, the people in my corner, my mom, Coach Allison, whoever it is, I know they would tell me. And they haven't. So like those are the things that as you do this more, you start to become really in tune with that. And that's the level you have to be at to get to that next level, I think. It can't just be, oh, I'm walking, oh, I'm
So good.
skating. Oh, it has to be the whole picture.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. The next thing I want to talk about is conviction. So, I think a huge thing that like breaks my heart because I can't fix this for people is helping them to step into that confidence and that conviction. And we always talk about like confidence, conviction, certainty. They
Mhm.
all are like cousins that are like a triangle that go together, right? Just like power, presence, and warmth. So, how have you worked on your conviction? Because I think if people were to even watch an interview with you today as opposed to an interview a year ago, 2 years ago, it'd be very, very different, right? And then we also talk about like proving, defending,
Mhm.
pretending kind of
Yeah.
energy. Part of that is stepping into authenticity, which means you have to know yourself, which means you have to do the work to find yourself, right? So, like, this is just a longer journey than people think, which is why some girls can go in and win on their first try. Maybe they've already done 90% of that work. I think that's part of why I won Miss Nebraska USA on my first try is because I'd been coaching people for 8 years where I was
Yeah.
walking in my authentic self and I was convicted, right? But that's not for someone to compare themselves to my journey and be like, oh well, I can never do that. Well, just there's an arc of work that has to be done, and however fast you want to complete that is up to you, which is why coaching and therapy and whatever is so important. So what was kind of that arc like for you? What would be your practical tips or encouragement to people of how to like step into that conviction? And when did you know that you were like, I'm going to be Miss
Yeah.
Nebraska? Like, I'm convicted about it. Like, this is a new level. This is
Mhm.
different because obviously you competed
Yeah.
a bunch of times
Well,
before.
going back to just like the start of the arc, I mean, very first year I competed in the Miss America organization, I was 19 and I'm from Oregon. So I was living in Oregon. I competed. That was my very first pageant. And I went to state and I got fourth runner up. And I won interview and I won prelim talent. And I like everyone thought, but that was the year they got rid of vote of the heart. So it was all done by score. And the girl that won Miss Oregon that year had a very strong like swimsuit score, evening gown score. So whatever happened there, right? But a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, she should have won. She should have won. And I'm standing up there like, what is happening? Like I'd never done this before. But if you ask my mom probably and anyone else, they would tell you that I was just so fresh. Like I had nothing to lose, nothing to prove, nothing to defend. I just went in there and like interviewed and
Mhm.
skated and woohoo, I'm at Miss Oregon, right? And I think as you do this more years, you kind of lose that a little bit because you start thinking about it more. Because then the next year you're like, okay, how do I
Mhm.
make this better? Right. So each year that you do it, you do kind of climb that arc of, okay, how do I improve? How do I keep that? But that's why that work is so important because once you do it once, that freshness, that newness kind of goes away because then you start honing in on certain things. And that's why you do have to do that
Mm.
work, but you have to do it in a way that like serves you. Like I mean, I never did therapy and tell Allison. And I don't even call it therapy. I just call it like sports psychology because it's really it's just like
Yeah,
mindset.
honestly.
Yeah. And just getting in the flow state or the zone, that zone that athletes talk about. And so you have to do that in a way that works for you. I'm not a journaler. Megan will tell you that. Like, I hate journaling, but I had to figure out like what works for me to like get that out. So whether it was like a voice memo or like I learned that taking notes doesn't have to mean like, oh, dear diary, I did that. Like, that's not me. But
Yeah.
it was like talking through things or taking notes about things, praying through things. Like, you can do the work in a way that makes sense for you. But again, you have to want,
Mm.
the conviction comes where you have to want to do that work. And I didn't want to do that work on skating because I didn't think there was anything to be done. But at that mastermind, I was like,
Wow.
I have to figure this out. I want this so bad. But it was before that that I knew that this was my year. Like, even going into that local, I just felt so at ease because again, was doing everything the way that I wanted to do it with my team of people. And I
Mm.
just felt so at peace about it. And going in, of course, you're nervous, you're stressed. Like, there's all these things that have to get done. But like that week, my whole focus was just to have the best time. It was my last time. It was my last time at state. I wanted to have the best time ever. But I went in, I was so excited. And my biggest piece of advice now is it is okay, especially if you are an older girl. If I'm speaking to an older contestant, like, it's okay for you not to be the one that helps everybody. You can still be the kindest, most encouraging, best, you win Miss Congeniality. But that doesn't mean that you have to be the first person to like solve everyone's problems that week. And I remember specifically one of the gals didn't have a great run through. And she came backstage and she was crying, and my heart broke for she loves her talent as well. But I was getting ready for my talent, and I put my headphones in, and I said, Lord, I know that I can't do anything. She has 5 people around her right now. I will go talk to her later. I put my headphones in and I put my worship playlist on. It was kind of my hype up playlist, and I focused. I did my talent. I came back and I checked on her. And I knew that that was okay, but that has taken years to be okay with that because I'm known as Mama Rach. So like, you just have to be so convicted that you're confident in yourself, and you can't worry about, it's so cliche, but like, you can't worry about what other people think. And you have to know, again,
Mm.
as believers, like, I know that God has a plan and that I'm here for a reason. And it's okay for me to selfishly focus on myself while still caring about other people. So that's like kind of rambly, I guess, but like, you just have to be so convicted about it that you want it, but you're having fun. And you said something on the podcast last week where it like can't run your life. And Allison talks about like it being,
Mm.
you have to be detached. And I was detached. Like, I wanted to be Miss Nebraska because I have all these ideas for the last 10 years of how I want to serve, what I want to do, how I want to make Miss America better, like why I want to share roller skating, how I want to talk to kids, all this stuff. But I also had to be so detached from it that it was like, if I don't win, cool. Like, I have other things that I'm working on personally, professionally, that I had going for me, that if I didn't win, I've learned so much that like, I can get any interview, I can get any job I interview for. I can still go skate. Like, I have all these connections I've built through this that it didn't matter. And so that's why when I won the talent award, I was like, oh, awesome. Because I wasn't like, please, 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 please. Like, I wasn't so hung up on it. So you have to be so convicted about it, but you also have to
Mhm.
be significantly detached from it. And like, transparently, that's what I've been working on as I
Mhm.
prepare for Miss America. I really want this job. I know I would be great at this job, but I also have to be really detached from it because I want to be so present so I can have the best time at Miss America.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I'd like to speak to when it comes to that is I think where a lot of women limit themselves, and this aligns so well with your CSI as well, is that like because of fear of it not being
Mhm.
perfect, they never do
Mm.
anything.
Mm.
And what I see is so heartbreaking is that they live in this area of like I think like OG powerhouse coaching, Rachel, we talked about the difference between a researcher and a
Uh-huh.
doer,
Uh-huh.
right? So somebody that just like they sit and they plan 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 and they
Been there.
plan. And then they go into their interview and they're like, I have all these plans. I want to do all these things. And the first question I want to ask you as a judge is like, okay,
What have
but
you
great, what
done?
have you done?
Yeah.
Because conviction comes from life experience, and there are these whitewashed people that compete in pageants that on one side of things, I think a lot of people compare themselves to the girls with tons of money or the girls who have the $10,000 dress. Da, 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 da. Well, guess what? I've seen on the other side of things, on the coaching side, those girls who are incredibly insecure because they can buy everything on the outside to make themselves exactly what they want to
Mhm.
be, but they're insecure because they have no story because they haven't done
Yeah.
anything. And they genuinely they have not done the inner work to even be able to communicate the kind of the heroine story. What happened in the past? Why did it suck? How did it change you? What are you doing
Mhm.
about it? And what legacy do you want to leave with helping other people in the
Yeah.
future? And so I want to encourage anybody that is listening to this today that even if your life feels like a mess, that's the best time to start building an awareness of
Absolutely.
like, okay, how are you going to turn this into a
Mhm.
testimony? How is this going to be different 6 months from
Mhm.
now? And if you just go out into the community and just
Yeah.
do stuff, like just try stuff, do stuff. Like a part of success is failure. And all of that, if you can learn to be a story gatherer and have your head on a swivel, have like a 360 panoramic camera around your brain everywhere that you go, collecting stories, hearing things, becoming a listener, you will become more interesting when you become more
Yeah.
interested in the world around you.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because obviously you're all about getting involved in mentorship and
Mhm.
these different things. And how has that helped you? What would be your encouragement to
First of
people
all,
along
that's
those
just all
lines?
so good because well, number one, this is why ladies out there like wanting to jump on the Powerhouse train, do it because it's life coaching, not just pageant coaching. Like this, what I'm about to say is like such a life thing that has helped me in pageantry, not the other way around. So when I moved, when I got my soccer injury and I wasn't able to play soccer anymore, I transferred schools to finish my business degree and I moved to Seattle U, and I really wanted to stay involved in sports because I was like, I would watch the soccer practice from the cafeteria and it hurt because I wasn't on a team. I wasn't involved in sports. Well, the athletic director came to my classroom one day and she was encouraging people to volunteer with the athletic department and get involved. And I was like, I can do that. I know no one. I want to be involved in sports. Yeah. So I went down to the athletic department and just asked a question. And that's always been my personality. I'll say like I'm the question queen to some of my friends. And so like I happily went down there. I got involved and I helped with marketing. I became the administrative assistant. I learned how to do live stats. Now I do live stats in Nebraska because I like asked
Mhm.
questions and I got involved in that community. So that story actually came up in my mock interview yesterday. Oh, you worked for the WNBA. Tell me about that. And then I got to talk about how to be adaptable in the moment and move quickly, which helps you being a title holder, being Miss America. So like that wasn't a pageant thing or like why I did that, but that has helped me in pageantry. So being a doer, taking massive imperfect
Mm.
action, I feel like that is Megan Swanson Rhodes' coined term. Like you have to take that imperfect action because if you don't take any
Mm.
action, nothing changes. And Coach Allison encouraged me in that as I was first starting to prep for Miss America right after I won. We were talking about like national things. And she's like, have you done anything national? And I was like, well, I've been working on a few things, but nothing's really come. She goes, well, don't wait on other people. Go find something else. Like, go do it. And so I was like, okay, what do I got to lose? So, like, that next day, I emailed the Center for Evidence Based Mentoring in Boston, Massachusetts. And I said, hey, I'm Raechel. I'm Miss Nebraska. I want to do XYZ. They got back to me. I wrote a guest blog for them 3 days later. And so it was like, but I would have never done that.
Mm.
I just needed a little kick in the pants to go like, just send an email. And I did. But I was so worried about like, what's the right email to send? Who should I reach out? Didn't matter. I did it. And then that was like the confidence boost to be like, okay, now you can do something nationally. My curriculum. How long have I wanted to have curriculum to present? I've kind of like poked and prodded at that. I had a guy come to my office that talked about shit from Gallup. I went up to him and I was like, I need to work with him. Told him what I do. 2 months ago, I had my curriculum created and then presented in a school. It's on my website. But like, so that took years, but like I knew that's something I wanted to do and I just had to take that step. So like, don't be afraid because my encouragement to everyone out there is people want to share their success and they want to help other people. If you've made it so far, like you
Mhm.
have to give back in some way. Some people won't, but like the majority of people, they want to help you. They want to be the person that's like, oh, I helped so and so, regardless of what their motivation is. Like if you ask a question and our younger generations aren't, so if you are that person that steps up to ask that question to like make that move that go make someone go, oh wow, like that's impressive. you never know what doors could open from that. So like just do the thing. Literally just do the thing, because
Hmm.
failure or not, like you can say you've done it and it'll motivate you and encourage you that, oh, I can do that, and you'll do it again.
It's that perfectionism monster
Yeah.
and like fear of failure, fear of success, whatever you want to talk about. So, how did you get over that to train yourself to go from somebody that was a bit more cautious, wanted to ask a million questions before you did something, had those thoughts that was like, well, I want to make sure I'm respectful, right? Or whatever excuse that we give ourselves of like, well, I can't do this because. So, how did you train yourself to get over that? Like, did you put yourself on deadlines? Like, were there any practical things, or was it like a slow identity shift over time? And what would be your encouragement to people who genuinely see barriers, but like they aren't real barriers? They're just barriers in their
I
mind.
think the respectful piece is huge, especially as women. Like you want to be respectful, you have a reputation to uphold, you want to be seen as you did the right thing. And I still carry that, but that's part of who I am, and I've learned how to have a healthy relationship with that, because I do want to be respectful. I do want to be, seen as like, "Oh, I liked how she handled that." But you have to, again, know your
Mhm.
convictions so well that you can stick up for yourself. I think it was a slow identity
Yep.
shift over time, and just recognizing, like I said, how can I still do this, but not give away myself? Like I had to learn how to stand up for myself, right? I think really doing that, we keep saying doing that inner work, but really knowing, okay, why do I do this? If it's a particular issue, like if it's a coaching issue or whatever that issue is that you're fighting, okay, why do I want this to make this curriculum happen? Okay, what's it for? Who could I help? Who has done this before? Like, who could I reach out to? It's really reflecting on that whole picture. But I go back to it. It's who's in your circle. I had to have people that were encouraging, like you as my coach and friend,
Mm.
my mentors when it came to developing this curriculum, like that gentleman I started working with, or just the people in your life. Like you can't do this alone. You really can't. So my biggest piece of advice first would be to, if you feel really stuck, find that person. I don't care if it's your friend at first. If you have a really good friend, turn to that friend and say, "Hey, I have a question. I'm working on this. What are your thoughts on it?" Because maybe they can say, "Oh, well actually my English teacher just started a club on mentors." I don't know, whatever. Just started a club, like you should go talk to them. Like, so you never know who can help you connect those dots. But I just don't think you can do this by yourself. So I just encourage you to really start building your circle of people and taking note of who's in that circle and finding out like who can help you get to that next level, especially if you're like super stuck. Because I guarantee you, someone in anything that you're working on, platform, fitness, talent, whatever it is that you're stuck on. You know someone that knows something about it. So ask them, ask them.
100%. And I think what I love about that is like you think about the identity that it takes to reach out to
It's
people,
hard.
right? If you have accepted an identity of I'm not enough, or I'm going to be rejected, or I don't belong here, or I am bad, I'm not good, whatever your perception of what you believe at the I am level, which is the identity level, your core. And on top of that, if you don't have the great I am, which obviously we know is really the true identity of what does the Lord say about me in
That's
this
been huge for
area,
me personally.
then yeah, then, like, you don't have a foundation, and then you're constantly trying to bet on your own strength on that singular day. Well, what happens if you're on your period? What happens if you just broke up with a relationship? What happens if you just got fired from your job, right? Like, it's like you don't have to live this life of feeling, like, puppeteered by something. Like, you actually can be more in control of your life and your success than a lot of people think that they
Mhm.
can, and sometimes we have to delete old paradigms of where we were raised, how we were raised, who we were raised by, who we were raised around. That's like what you were saying about like your circle. And the thing that I want people to walk away from today with is that like all of you guys could win Miss whatever, but you're going to have to go through that
Yeah.
full arc of transformation, and there is no going around the process. Yes, some people, let's say the arc is 0 to 100, okay? And 100 is
Mhm.
winning. You might have started at 0, somebody else might have started at 30. Is that fair? No. But the fact is that person who's at 30 may not take the 70 other
Mhm.
steps that it takes to get there because they're like, la, 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 I'm ahead of you. And then you
Mhm.
actually outwork them and you end up getting to 100 and they never do. Right. And that's where the pursuit is worth it. So, anyways, as we close, do you have any other thoughts, whether it's along the lines of that or just anything else that you really wanted to get to share today, just to encourage people or let people know about you? And then maybe if you want to talk a little bit about anything like Miss Nebraska, Miss America related,
Okay.
go for that
I
as
do
well.
want to tie back to what we were just talking about because my other piece of encouragement with that would be don't be afraid to try something new to get you to that next spot, especially if you're feeling stuck. Like I, as an athlete, right? Like I was used to my body, for instance, being a certain way. I could eat a certain amount of food. I had a really high metabolism. But as I stopped being a college soccer player and just roller skating or whatever, like working out changed for me. And I loved being active. But there were years where I was like, well, I've tried this and I've tried yoga and I've tried whatever, and it like
Mhm.
wasn't working. And I remember one time you had said, well, like you were just talking to everybody at one point and you said, well, have you really tried something? And I thought, ooh, have I just like kind of tried and told myself that I've done all the things possible? Like, have you really I remember you going, have you really done all the things? And I'm thinking, no, probably not. And so like at one point I just realized like it wasn't working and I was just like doing something, doing it, but it wasn't serving me. So like this year I just love health stuff, and so I dove into actually working with a nutritionist because I was really curious, like, am I fueling my body well? Am I eating the right nutrients? Like, am I eating nutrient dense foods? That changed my life, and I like love it. I love to cook, so it was really fun for me, but it changed my body in such a positive way. And I learned I actually do love lifting weights. I just didn't know how to do it the right way. But I had to like be willing to, so I wasn't focused on, okay, I need to be ready for fitness, the fitness phase of competition. It was like, well, I want to be a healthy mom, a healthy wife, like all these things one day. And that's only going to help me in this. But that was like my mindset was like way out in the future. And so being
Mm.
willing to try something new and not think like right in the now was a game changer. And now I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I love my body. I like don't feel any guilt. Like I got rid of that mindset of eating ice cream, whatever. Love ice cream, love a good cookie. But my point with all that is like you have to be willing to try something new if something's not working, and like take note of what is working. Do I feel good doing this? Do I not feel good when I work with this person? Like, and don't think about it in the pageant.
Mm.
Think about it in the life lens because it's only going to make you a better person. Detach from that. But that's my encouragement to everyone. Love what you do. If you don't love it, that is okay. But know why you
Mm.
want it, know that you love it, and really take a note of who's in your circle and be willing to be uncomfortable to try that next thing to take you to the next level. But as far as Miss America goes, I leave in 16 days, which is so crazy. I'm so excited. These next couple weeks, I'm just really working on my mental health, just like relaxing, trying to be present. I've got all the stuff. I'm ready to go. And I am so excited to meet all these women. We're going to go to Florida. It's going to be warm. And I get to skate on the national stage, and I cannot wait.
Amazing. Well, everyone, this has been an amazing podcast. I'm sure you got so much out of it. Raechel, how can people follow you on your journey before we
Yes,
head
you can
out?
follow me at Raechel_W or at Miss America NE on Instagram and Facebook. And I would love for you to follow my journey to Miss America. All your support, I can feel it. And just thank you, Megan, for over the years. I'm the honorary shortest Swanson sibling, is what I like to say. Your coaching, your mentorship, and your friendship has meant so much. And it was the biggest honor to have you behind me as I won Miss Nebraska this year. And I can't wait to take that to Miss America. So thank you.
Absolutely. And this is a totally unplanned thing, but when we were at Miss Nebraska this year and Raechel won, it was so fun because I was pregnant, Allie had a new baby, and it was my 10 year, Allie's 5 year, and then Raechel won. So now we'll never forget what our honorary years are because they're easy and
And
5 years
they
apart,
put all
which
the
is
former
awesome.
Miss Nebraskas behind us when we won, and it just so happened that Megan and Allie were like kitty corner to me. So when I won, like the first thing I did was turned around, and in the photos you see Megan and Allie go. It's like those are the best photos ever, and it just means the world. It was the best.
Awesome. I need to post that. Yeah, that was so fun. Oh my gosh. I was like, don't lose it. You're on camera. Don't lose it. You're
You
on
can
camera and you're
see
7 months pregnant.
like
It was
watching the
so fun.
video and seeing the crown and then your face. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, at the Swanson sisters, we got a big
Yeah.
face. We got like big eyes. There's no like my husband's always like, "Megan, there's no like you can't hide your face.
Nope.
Like don't even try. You're just an expressive person. It's how God
Yeah.
made you." So you know what? When we back our people, like it's
100%.
I'm gonna be expressive, whatever. Yeah. I love it. Well, thanks so much for being on this episode, everybody. Make sure that you check out our free pageant course. The link is in the description if you guys haven't gone through that yet. And if you are looking for people to help you become the next Miss Nebraska, Miss Arkansas, Miss whatever, then we would love to help you. So, with that, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.